Did you buy an old Honda with aspirations of getting it running? Maybe to put the engine in some other whack job project? Even though half the parts are missing, it probably would have been cheaper just to buy something that ran in the first place, but now you're emotionally invested in it, so you can't give up. Maybe I can help you with it. In order to get the bike running, we'll first turn our attention to the starter solenoid. The job of the starter solenoid is to supply power from the battery to the starter motor. And in order to do that, we need to first supply power to the starter solenoid. That is done through this yellow and red wire, and then it is grounded through the green wire with a pink stripe. You can't really see the pink stripe. You can find the yellow and red wire up on the front here on this red plug. You can always confirm that with a voltmeter, but this plug would normally plug into wherever your starter button would be. So in order to get power to that, we'll first need to connect our power on our ignition switch, which is this black plug here would plug into your ignition switch. And the red wire, which I have bridging to the black wire, the red wire is connected to your battery, and that will supply power to that black wire when your ignition is on, which will then basically supply power to everything in your bike, including to your starter button. So if we turn our attention back to that red plug, you can see in the corner, the black wire there should have 12 volts going to it. So if we then connect that black wire to our yellow and red wire, then things will crank over. We also need to make sure we have our starter solenoid grounded, and that is done by the green and pink wire we mentioned earlier. And there's two ways that can ground. One is in the clutch switch. So when you depress your clutch, it grounds the starter solenoid, enabling you to start your engine. And there are two green wires that come off of your clutch. They plug in right here. And if you connect those, that should ground it, and you should be able to start. The other way is if your bike is in neutral, you should be able to start it. So there it's again another switch in there. So when your shifter is in the neutral position, then things should start, and I'll demonstrate that here. Tire spins freely, we're in neutral. If we simply connect that yellow and red wire straight to 12 volts power here, then we complete the circuit and we get the starter motor to crank. And I will demonstrate the other way. If it is not in neutral, put it in first gear. And if we do the same thing, it does not crank over. Now I'll just simply connect those two wires that plug into the clutch switch together. And in this case, it actually didn't crank over. Spoiler alert. There was some weird connection. It was cranking over sometimes, was not sometimes when I used the clutch to ground it. As you can see, it's not here. So in my case, I didn't want to diagnose that. So I simply followed those green wires, and they led to this black plug here. And we can disconnect that plug and connect, see, the pink and green wire to the green wire there. And you can see I've connected those together, and that should ground it. And we'll see in a second here if that has worked. Make sure we're in gear. Yes, we are. Connect things together. And there you are. It works. Next, I'll give a brief overview of how the ignition system works, how we get spark. So under that cover will be the pulse generators, which will come out underneath the cover for your starter motor there. And then we'll go into this wire, which will plug into this red plug into your wiring harness, and then from there, the pulse will go to the CDI units. You should have 2 of these on this CB750. And from there, it will go to your coils. Once again, there'll be 2 of these, and it's a wasted spark system. So one will go to cylinder 1 and 4, and one goes to 2 and 3. And something to keep in mind, the problem that I had, is your CDI units will need power, and that power is also supplied from your ignition. Who would have thought? So it's that black wire we talked about earlier, and that will go into the same plug, which plugs into your starter button. I don't know because I didn't have it, but I assume it'll have your kill switch on it. And you can see on that same red plug, we have that black wire we talked about earlier, and then we have a black and white wire. And this wire I discovered on a wiring diagram. It basically gives power to your CDI units. So once I connected that up, after some mucking about, we get things to start up. I don't recommend doing this without headers. Alright, so I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, I'm sure there are lots more questions, leave a comment and I will do my best to answer. I've limited knowledge, but I will try to share what I can. This engine is going to be going in an exciting and sketchy project. Hopefully you are as excited as I am. Catch you later.